an addiction, just because they're qualified doesn't mean they're right for you. So for those who are new to my channel, my name is Ashley Bloxham. I'm a therapist. I specialise in childhood and trauma. I also am an addictions counsellor. I have studied addiction and mental health actually right the way up to PhD level. I've also overcame addiction. I think that qualifies as more than anything any qualification I've got. And I also know what it's like to have a loved one who's struggling in addiction. So I really do understand it. So today's topic is trust yourself in addiction recovery. One of the things that I keep hearing, not from everyone, but I've heard multiple times, is that when they've went and reached out to certain healthcare professionals, that they haven't gelled with them. And what the problem with this is sometimes we forget that as a population of human beings, there is a large portion of us who are idiots, who are morons, who do not understand the world. There is the same portion in healthcare professionals. You know, it is human beings, and we've got people who are operating from bias, etc. I've had some of them on my channel. So just because someone is a healthcare professional does not mean that they are the right person for you, does not mean that they are the right person to even be in the field at all. Let's be real. So it's really important that you trust yourself, because one of the things that I've heard a lot of people say in the past is that, I've been to drug services, they're not for me, because I've had one negative experience. Or even as a therapist, I've been to therapy's not for me. And actually it might be that the practitioner wasn't for you. So it's really important that you trust. If something doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel like it's resonating, to just speak up and go and ask for somebody different, because ultimately you need to trust yourself and you need to put your recovery first, and that is above offending healthcare professionals. So I would always suggest try a different professional, because it's really about the rapport. And if you've got good rapport with the person you're working with, you're going to have a much better outcome. Milligan is saying, Idol, you start talking straight away. Yeah, I just start on a little topic, because if not, I'll just be sat here stuttering, waiting for people to say hello. So I always do a little topic to get warmed up while people come on. And also some people watch back on the replay, so just a little topic for people. Hi Gordon, how you doing? It is a good morning. I'm feeling good. I feel like the fog is lifting from quitting vaping, because I've quit vaping. I think you might have I've probably already said to you, Gordon, because I know you've been on. But I quit vaping like 3 and a bit weeks ago, and I'm starting to feel like a human being again, which is nice. The sparkles back in my life. So loving the hair, looking beautiful. Oh, thank you. The two things I've been focusing on whilst I've been coming off vaping is my hair, like self-care, so like my hair and jiu-jitsu. So I've got naturally curly hair, and I've been like researching loads of little geeky ways on how to embrace my natural hair and curl train. So thank you. It's been a little side quest to distract myself. But that's the thing with addiction recovery. You've just got to find something that lights you up, even if it is as lame as find out what shampoos and trialing loads of different products with your hair. Woo. Sorry, some little guy just flew past us. Hi, Rans. Hi, Ren. And love. Oh God, I wish he's had some normal names. This is not good for my dyslexia. Hopefully, he's having a laugh at us, instead of getting offended. So I'm from Newcastle in England. Oh, thank you, King Doopy. These names, honestly. Irish is saying definitely embrace that. Thank you. Are you from England? I am, yeah. North of England. Oh, thank you, Grady. I wish I was your mirror. So I could see you every morning. That's a bit creepy weird, I'm not gonna lie. Also, don't look like this in the morning. Right, Gyro, bear drunk, yeah. What, you're bear drunk? Mike is saying, love the nose ring, thank you. It's very controversial, the nose ring. Sometimes it's a crowd pleaser, and for some reason it just seems to be a topic of conversation where people like have a go at it as if it's like something to reflect on my ability to be a counsellor. Madness. I had somebody, quite a few people actually have been saying like, I can't take you seriously with your tattoos. I'm like, I'm doing an addiction channel. Like there's people who are struggling with like heroin and crack addictions on this channel. I don't think they're bothered about the fact that I've got some tattoos and a nose piercing. Like, grow up. Stranger Things ending season 5. Estate, I've never watched. I think I watched one series. I didn't quite get into it. Hi FJ. Vincent, how you doing? I'm doing really well. I was just saying, I've just come out of coming out of the thick of it. So I always say with addiction recovery, if you remove something, you're going to have about 3 weeks and your dopamine receptors will start resetting and you'll start to get like excited about life and feeling good again. So I've just quit vaping and it took a little bit longer. It took about 3.5 weeks, but I'm feeling really good. The last few days I've been flying. It's been good. Is that your natural hair colour? Yeah, so it's like natural ginger. It's got like different colours ginger in it. This was a different dye which is coming out, so it's pretty blended. But yeah, I used to be like really bright ginger. Now I'm like a brownie ginger. I found my first grey hair though yesterday. I was just like, oh my god, this is like monumental. I had to pluck it out because I couldn't believe it. I've done quite well though. I'm 37, so I reckon hopefully I'll get the 40s without grey. But I was just like, what? How dare you? 29, yeah, I do heroin. Would you like some support? 29. Would you like some support? And I assume you're saying that because I said about the tattoos, as long as you're all right with us having tattoos. I can do a one-to-one with you and it's totally free of charge. Just go to my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, and I'll give you a link to me Calendly and we can get that set up if that would be helpful. I was just saying nose rings and tattoos are more of the norm. Yeah, I feel like I'm just going to do me. Do you know what I mean? I think not enough people just be yourself. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. If somebody doesn't like it, that's fine. Go to a different channel. Love the way you talk endearing. Thanks, Kingdom. That's nice to see. Oh, hi, Guy. How you doing? Me, a little mod who's mint. If anyone wants free support from Ashley, visit our School of Addiction or comment on her videos here. I've just pinned that. How you doing anyways, Guy? May I ask where your accent's from? It's Geordie, it's from Newcastle. Hi, Trevor to Paris, how you doing? Thanks, Linda and Big Ray. I don't know how you say that. I think you are Irish, am I right, the accent? No, I'm not Irish. I'm from Newcastle. Gordo, don't plug them out. Out you get more and plug them out. Plug what out? Gordo, what do you mean by that? Oh, Red Rose, I'm going to read this out to everyone. He's saying to me, but I'm going to read it to everyone. Red Rose has said, just in case no one's told you lately, you're loved, you're important, you matter, and never doubt your worth because you're worth the world. Oh, I love that. Yeah, do you know what it is? We just need to big each other up, don't we? We need to big ourselves up and big each other up. And honestly, it makes such a difference to it makes such a difference. And you know what it is? Like saying kind things, like that message that Red Rose has said for everyone. Just saying little kind comments and doing nice little gestures, which really don't take much, make you produce oxytocin. And it's just like pumping this feel-good hormone around our body. It's so good for the soul. It's the love hormone. So just by doing little nice comments, little compliments, nice gestures, you're just like buzzing off your own high, your own natural high. So love that. I like the golden sperm cell charm. It's not sperm. This is a coffee bean, and this is it's a Italian good luck charm. But they were actually my mum's when she was like a teenager. I just adopted them. Quasimodo, hey lovely, just wondering what's beyond the maps. I can usually see the maps within the maps, but not the map within the maps. Is mapping this map beyond the map seems more important, YT. I don't really know what that means. Don't know what you mean. Peace Ninja, based on your accent, I think you're from Oklahoma. Wrong side of the world. I'm from Newcastle in England. Some of us are very accepting of differences. Irish is saying, yeah, we have to be as well, realistically. Like everyone, I think the more accepting we're of other differences, the more accepting we can be of our own differences. For some reason, society wants us all to be the same, all be in a little box, and we've all got to look the same, and we've all got to act the same and behave the same. And it's just dampening down who we are, and it's really damaging if we're not in alignment with who we are. Like from a counselling perspective, there's someone called Carl Rogers, who was the majority of my training was based in his theory. And what he says is that we have what's called an organismic self, which is like an authentic self. And he said if we're out of alignment with that, then that's where we get anxiety and depression, and we feel lost in the world because we're denying parts of ourselves, or we're distorting parts of ourselves to fit in, or based off the narratives we're told by society and by people when we're growing up. And it's really damaging. So to go back to what Irish has said, if we can start being accepting of other people's differences, it's a biofeedback loop, like a relational biofeedback loop, and we're starting to be more accepting of ourselves. Milligan, I've been having coke every 2 to 3 days for the past 5 years. I need to stop, but I'm struggling too. Milligan, would you like to do a one-to-one? And would you like to do one-to-one, guys? If you just follow the instructions in the pinned comment. But if it's every 2 to 3 days, that sounds like there's some kind of trigger. So is it correct as if I'm wrong? But often with cocaine, what can happen is if you're having it with a drink, and the alcohol and cocaine combination forms a compound called cocoethanol, which is physically addictive. So cocaine is only psychologically addictive. Cocoethanol is physically addictive. So often what happens with people, and myself included in the past, is I'll be fine, I'll be going about my day, but the second that drink hits my lips, I'm like, I need a line, get the packets in, and I'd have every intention that I wasn't. So I wonder, is it alcohol mixed in with it? Or is there some kind of trigger that's happening every 2 to 3 days? Because that sounds like a pattern, like an association of some sort. But we can absolutely hash this out for free and do a one-to-one if you want. She's a Mackem joke, sorry. I actually grew up in South Shields where Mackems and Mackems and magpies just live in harmony together, so it's not that insulting. But I definitely am not a Mackem, and I definitely do not like fucking Sunderland Football Club. They can fuck off, and they are shit. Right, I was born in Gosforth, Newcastle. Mum took us to Australia when I was a kid. Oh, I love that. I've got family in Australia who moved there. Did you lose your accent? Maggot. Very different words there. Mago and maggot. Gordo, you were saying you find your first grey hair for everyone you pulled out because I believe you get 6 or 7 back. Oh, it's just one of them. I'm just going to naturally let it happen. But I pulled it out because I just couldn't believe it. So I had to pull it out to inspect it, and it was undeniable. It was like whiter than white. But I was thinking it might, because it's one that's grew in, it was only a baby hair, it might be stress, just with us quitting vaping. And yeah, I thought maybe it's like I've had a bit of a stressful month or so I'm putting it down to that. I'm trying to like be in denial and blame it on stress, because that can change, like make you have grey hairs, because it wasn't hair changing to grey, it was one grown in. We can live in denial for a little bit. But if me 7 clump up, then, well, we can't anymore. Zach, I dated a Scouser from Liverpool. I live in Oklahoma. She was hard to understand sometimes, yeah. I think just the north of England, the accents are all a bit ropey. Ryan is saying, how can I help? I followed love listening. Oh, thank you. Do you know a really easy thing you can all do to help is subscribe. I'm working to do like one-to-ones with everyone for free, and I'm coming on here 5 days a week. but I'm trying to get paid off YouTube so that I can support people for free, but also get paid so that I could like look after me and my little baby. So a subscription would be really helpful, but obviously you don't have to. Double barrel shotgun. Oh, what's that about? Sadia knowledge. John, what's your take on online dating? I think with the online thing, the moral compass of relationships doesn't exist anymore because people's brains are not connected to their emotions. What's your take? Yeah, I think it's hijacking the dopamine reward system. So very much like addiction, doom scrolling. You know, I literally got to the bottom of Tinder when I first became single. It started getting really ropey, like the people were like, are these even real people? Surely not. and then they were getting like further away and I was just like, these can't be human beings. And then it literally came up a message, there is no more people in Tinder. So it was something along those lines. I was like, well, I've completed Tinder, like some kind of game. But it's a dopamine buzz, like left, right, and then getting a message. And like when you look at addiction, it highlights the same reward pathways as attachment. So Helen Fisher did work on this. So again, it's that like it can be addictive. Also, a lot of people who are on these apps and who are in the dating world at the moment are the people who are insecure attachment styles. And look, I've been one. And if you want to find out if you are one, because you might be attracting the inverse of what you are. So if you're an anxious attachment style, you might be attracting avoidant attachment styles, because that's really common, like your nervous systems recognize each other. So you can do a test. If anyone wants to do an attachment style test, comment on any of my content, I'll send you a link. But what happens is in the dating world, you tend to have a lot of avoidant attachment or anxious attachment styles, which makes dating really difficult. Also, the other thing is as well, is when you meet someone in person, something really specific happens. So women, when they meet a man, off their smell, it's very subconscious, within a couple of seconds have clocked whether they're attracted to somebody, and it's based off the smell. So what we are able to do through smelling, your pheromones is, no, not pheromones, your hormones, is check to see if we've got a genetic compatibility. So are your genes going to support mine? And if not, you instantly get turned off, and that's to protect you from having babies with deformities and etc. So it's an evolutionary technique. So when you're talking to somebody, you could be talking to them for ages and then going out on a date with them and think, oh, well, actually, I don't have an attraction to them. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like a friendship vibe. And that's because you're not compatible. So it's missing out that. Also, it's missing out body language, all these different things. So often we're going out on dates and there's not a vibe there. And the people we're going out on dates with, a lot of them are unhealed attachment styles, because a lot of secure people are in securely attached relationships. So yeah, the dating world in general is difficult, I would say. Spark me light. I have an issue with stimulants because I'm trying to keep up with things. That's very, very important. How do I change? So if it's got a purpose, what I would try and do is work out, okay, what else can you do to fulfill that purpose? Because there's a reason. So let's think, right, we've got a reason, but if it's causing you issues, it's like, okay, yeah, this was working for a while, now it's causing havoc. So we know why, but now we've got to think of let's go to the drawing board and think of a better why, and try to start introducing that and replacing it slowly but surely with the other thing. So that might be looking at like natural ways for focus. So for me, I've got ADHD. Sleep is a really good thing. Biofeedback loops, so always like focusing on my body, my gut microbiome, all these little things. And there's so many different things you can do to improve focus. So I would work on that. Frederick saying, what a great way to wake up at 2 a.m. lol. Well, good morning to Frederick. I've got 8 inches and I'm proud of it. Good for you. Sir Daniel, we're all slipping into the melting pot. The whole world, there's going to be no separate cultures anymore. I love different cultures, different ways, different beliefs. It interests me. Well, we're tribal creatures, aren't we? And we're all meant to have our own rituals and our own little cliques and our little things to belong to. And I suppose like cultures are just huge tribes. Zach, my authentic self, is an absolute monster. So, Freud talks about this, and he argues that we all have two energies like within ourselves. So we have the id, which is, you know, our inner innate driving forces. And this is the one that doesn't give a fuck about people. This is the one who's like angry and chaotic and just really self-centered and wants to do its own thing and really in touch with its like primal feelings and instincts. And then we've got on the other side this energy of super ego, and this is something that we develop so often because of shame and parenting. We develop a sense of like what's right and how we should behave to fit into our culture. So it's usually grounded in cultural norms. And Freud talks about the ego, and he says the ego's job is to navigate balance between the id. So this idea of your authentic self, the monster authentic self, and the super ego. And if we haven't overdeveloped one of those, we're going to struggle in life because we need to get on with society. That's a matter of survival. And, you know, biology, neuroscience points to this. If you look at the research, we need to be part of a group. We're tribal creatures. So we need a super ego, but we also need to be authentic, and we need to be honest with what, like, boundaried and, you know, expressing ourselves in ways which are authentic. So we need the ego to balance them out. So maybe you're kind of like being a bit black or white with it, Zach. Maybe you're being too in your super ego and you're suppressing yourself because you're like, I'm a monster. Or maybe you're just too in the monster, the id, and just like thinking no fucks given. So a good rule of thumb for the ego to navigate this situation is it's not always about me, but it's not never about me. And ask yourself that question, like, am I in balance with this? I'll tell you what, I might be across the pond, but if you want help with a school about addiction, and if you really want to learn about one true self, I am an expert. Feel free to reach out. Yours, Allah, bro. What do you do? Are you an addictions therapist? I love it when I get people come on my channel. What's your top tip for people? Thomas, I'm really scared right now. You're scaring me. Please don't hurt me. Oh, how am I scaring you, Thomas? Can I have a bit of information? We all have Jaden is saying we all have masculine and feminine side. Also, it's written in our DNA. Yeah, we do have a masculine and feminine side. And, you know, I'd say that it's good to be balanced. But also, there's very differences. Like, if you look biologically, there is distinct differences between men and women. And I think sometimes we're trying to ignore that. I think there's a huge, huge issue at the moment, which is so sad, where masculinity is in crisis and men are getting shamed and put down for being men, and it's really awful. And actually, I think men are just as oppressed as what women have been, and now women are becoming less and less oppressed, certainly in the West. They're kind of stepping on men to get there, and it's really shit. There are distinct differences, and I think that both need to be honoured and looked at for... Because men are really struggling, and if you look at crime rates, you look at suicide rates, you look at addiction rates, all of these men are just absolutely at the top of the statistics, and it's really sad. So yeah, I do think it's important to be aware of masculinity and femininity. And how can we work together, and how can we, in the modern world, express that side of ourselves in a healthy way, so that we can, you know, because we are animals. And look, if you look at the animal kingdom, there's very distinct differences between the two in most different animals. And I think for some reason, men are getting a lot of stick for being men. Hi Elijah, how you doing? Thank you, that was really kind to say. Margot is saying I identify as a concreter. What's a concreter? Positive patriot, men are the oppressed. I do think men are seriously oppressed. People can come for us for saying that, but like I really do think they are. And what's really sad is you're seeing a lot of women stepping on men, and instead of like I think that women were naturally more nurturing, you know, it's in our nature. We're naturally, the way that our brains are wired up, we're much better at like at understanding emotions, and instead of like blaming men and, you know, tearing men down, we should be using that ability to support them. And it is happening, but there's also the other side of it, you know, like all things like oh God, there was a thing ages ago where like men shouldn't be able to come out after a certain time. Anytime I've been in a sticky spot as a woman, a man has came, like a random man has came to my rescue. I'd train with jiu-jitsu with men, they're lovely, like so lovely, all of them, like they go so gentle on us, like just yeah, it's just sad. Fairy, you were very scary. Why am I scary? It's not a breed, love guitar. Well, no, it's not, I'm not saying it's a breed, it's a difference. I don't know why I'm talking about men though, I don't know what was said. I went on a little side quest, I think. The joys of ADHD. Right, Thomas, you were really scaring me. I am terrified. You are not planning on hurting me. Oh, I think I've read that one already. Oh, Haley Heildo is saying, how do I quit smoking? So with smoking, I would always try and get rid of the habits first. There'll be habitual times where you smoke because it's chemically addictive, and it's really hard, to be honest, with this smoking, because there's no like immediate, for most people, it's not like you can fast forward and see the impacts of smoking. So you've got to try and find the hook in the here and now. But the main thing what I'd do is think about, why is it that you want to stop, and write it down. Second of all, I would get rid of the habitual ones. So if the first cigarette you have is, when, for me, it used to be when I was driving my car, I used to love having a rollie whilst driving. So that was the first one to go. After, food, because these are where your brain associates it. So start getting rid of those. Have an end date, start reducing down, like start getting used to saying no for a little bit, and get some accountability. Like tell everyone you're going to do it. So you've got to stand on business. And also with smoking, so a lot of the time we use it naturally to regulate our nervous system, because it gives you breath, like it gives you breathing, and it's just calm. So what I would start to do is learn a different way that you can use to regulate your nervous system, so that when you remove the vaping or the smoking, you can regulate your own nervous system. Afternoon tea saying there was a 3-day webinar on healing from trauma on, did you catch it? Gabor Mate spoke last night, really insightful, the way our emotions and behaviours all link back and can be retrained, etc. I saw his, I attended the 3-day webinar that he did a few months ago, and I don't know if it's the same one. Afternoon tea, was it about the heart, like opening your heart space? Or if it was a different one. I'm gutted I missed it though. I didn't see it advertised, or would have. I love Gabor Mate. He is my hero. The book I'm writing is built on a lot of the work that he's done. It's grounded a lot in his work and theory. So it's just done it in a more like quantifiable way. Having to say, what's the topic? So it's addiction. I'm a therapist, so I answer questions on addiction and therapy. Today's topic, I was speaking about just about professionals, and you know that we don't just because somebody's a healthcare professional doesn't mean that we have to stick with them if they don't feel right for us. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions around addiction or mental health, please do ask. She's not from the north. She's not German, Luke's saying. She's from the northeast God's country. Hello from Sunderland. Hello to Sunderland. Yeah, definitely not German. Absolutely not German. I don't think I could sound any less German if I tried. Are you dominant? What do you mean by, well, are we talking like sexually or like just in general? Am I quite a dominant character? Because one of those I will answer, one I won't. Do you support Newcastle, Sunderland or Middlesbrough? I don't really watch football anymore, but I used to be into it. I used to be in the Magpie Club when I was younger, and I used to have season tickets. But I just don't, I'm not interested in it anymore. I used to love going to football matches, and I just don't have the attention span with my ADHD to watch it on TV, but I used to love going to the football match when I was younger. But absolutely Newcastle. Oh, great, subscribe. Thank you. If anybody else could give us a subscribe, that would be really helpful. Hail Dole, are you married? No, I'm not. I don't know who Becky Lynch is, Armand. Trav Does Design says, what's the hardest part about transforming into a functional, sober life? I would say there was a couple of things that I found personally hard. This I would imagine would be very subjective. Oh, there's three things I would say. So for me, dealing with the shame. I mean, every bit of thing, like as an addict, and I'd love to hear all of your experiences, but as an addict, I felt so ashamed of myself, especially because I was a mom, and like a new mom struggling and kept relapsing during pregnancy and the early stage of his life. I kept relapsing. I felt so much shame, and I hated myself. I loathed myself. I thought I was the dickhead, the worst person in the world. So one of the hardest things for me was when I told people. Some people said all my worst fears out loud to my face, and they were saying you're a disgrace, you're a really bad mom, you shouldn't be around them, what's to say you're going to get sober, and really, really tore us down. And it was so damaging to the point where it made us feel suicidal. So one of the worst parts was coming out of addiction recovery with people who weren't able to support us in the way I needed. I felt like I was getting kicked while I was down. So that was the hardest thing, moving through that whilst also coming out of addiction. So, and then breaking down that shame. The other hard thing about addiction recovery is the lead up to it, where you think that you can stop, you think you can't stop, you try to, you relapse, and then you feel like I can't do it. So that impossible feeling, that was the worst thing. But actually, when you get out of it, is providing you're also doing the inner work to learn to love yourself, to stabilize your nervous system, that you're just doing everything that you need to do to support your recovery. So at last you get to a point where you're like, why did I feel like that was so impossible? And now you couldn't pay us to go back. Michelle is saying, I moved to the island. Yeah. And do you know what is? I had somebody who, sometimes going back to that idea of people kicking us when I was down, it's really important that you've got good people around you. So I had somebody like who I met, a friend, this friend, and they were in addiction recovery. They were in like a rehab, like what do you call it? Like a rehab that is in the community rehab, and they'd went for support, and they were really, really struggling to get sober, but everyone was just like, nobody was supporting them in the right way, and they felt shit about themselves. And I actually met them, and I was just like, no one does, you're on addiction. And I was just like supportive of them, because one, like, I'm an addictions therapist. Two, I knew what it was like. And three, he was just riddled with mental health disorders, which wasn't diagnosed. And all I did was provide a space for him to be seen and supported, and he literally ended up stopping his addiction. He turned his whole life around, and as far as I know, he's never looked back. And honestly, we just need good support around us in addiction recovery. Are you now addicted to negativity and people's problems, etc.? No, I am so fucking positive. I am Groot. I'm so positive. I think that the reason why I'm doing this, so I'm qualified to death. Like, I've got 2 degrees in counselling. I've got a master's in addiction. I was doing my PhD in addiction. One of my degrees in counselling, I specialised in addiction as well. And I've done many other little courses like smart training, blue light, etc. So, which are all addiction courses. So I'm qualified to death, but I've also overcame it, and I'm a therapist, and I genuinely believe that if you've been through something and you understand something, I'm so spiritual, I feel like you should give back. I saw something the other day and it resonated so much. It said, if you learn something, teach it, and if you've got something, give it. I've got free time at the moment. I've got free time, and I've got a lot of wisdom, and I'm happy to teach everything I know, and I'm happy to give up my free time to help people who are in active addiction who need that support. So that is why I do it, not because I'm addicted to negativity. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit immune because I'm a therapist. I'm very good at for me, when there's like negativity, people's issues, I'm able to like try and get into the root of the problem and see it as a problem to solve together, as opposed to something negative to take on. Stacey Dutton saying she's a Geordie, you dope. Why does it matter she's on here being vulnerable and taking the chair? Just fucking listen and learn, for fuck's sake. Yeah, yeah, true that. Thanks, Stacey. Hi, Deathhawk, how you doing? It's nice to see you. Liberty, no one ever talks about sex addiction, but it's worse than drug addiction. Do you know what is, Liberty? I agree to an extent that it can be. And one of the things I found, so when I started being a private, like doing addictions as a private therapist, when I worked for BetterHelp, and I was just basically subcontracting work, the biggest addiction that came through my door was sex addiction, because there's no services for it. Like, I think there's a AA or NA version of it, but there's no services. And actually, a lot of people it starts off like porn, it escalates, like any addiction, because you build up a tolerance. And a lot of young people are using porn. Look, I've used porn. I think there's very few people in the world who have not watched porn. Let's be real. And if you've got, so because it's so much access to it, and yet for some reason there's no services, it's absolutely disgusting. It really is. It's a really big shame. It is really difficult, and it also hijacks slightly different slightly different parts of the brain, because obviously it's not just the addiction like endorphins and a dopamine, but it's also, we've got to have sex involved, so there's a whole different host of other chemicals going on there, like vasopressin, oxytocin, etc. So yeah, it is a really difficult addiction to deal with, and it's really widespread. And on top of that, it's a double taboo, because there's so much stigma around addiction, and then there's also, for some weird reason, stigma around sex, even though we're all human beings and most of us have sex, and a lot of us have at least watched porn. So yeah, I do agree. But if you're wanting some support on that, on porn addiction, just get in touch through my website. Mask Singer question, what's your opinion on counsellors that have never been an addict? Well, so I've met a few counsellors who, in fact, I'll just talk about myself. So I wanted to be an addictions therapist because I went to do a counselling course. I was going to do sign language, and my friend said, whose parents did sign language, said, no offence, but you are never going to learn that. He was like, I haven't learned it, and my parents got sign language. Partially deaf, and I've not learned it. And my other friend said, you should do the addiction course, because I used to get wrecked all the time. Like, I was not sober for one day of my 20s and early 30s. And he said, you should do the addiction module, you'll do well at it, as you understand drugs. So I did that. And then I was listening, and I was like, actually, I want to be an addictions therapist. And I have loved ones who struggle with addiction. So I thought I want to be an addictions therapist because if I can help people to stop with their addiction, it means other people, like their loved ones, don't have to experience what I feel, which is where loved ones are choosing addiction over them. So I had this very wrong and toxic understanding of addiction whilst training to be addictions therapist. The ironic thing is, I then went on to do another counselling course, and a big part of this was personal development. And what's happened is I started unearthing loads of traumas, and I started getting PTSD, and I was using drugs recreationally. And what happened was I started then leaning into ketamine because I felt like I could talk about what was going on, all this trauma which was coming to the surface in a safe space. And I ended up getting an addiction to ketamine. So I developed an addiction whilst training to be an addictions therapist. And I tell you now, first of all, everything I was learning didn't work on us. So I think if you've never done it, like if you're just going off tips and tricks, I'm here to tell you they don't work. Like standalone, you need somebody. You need to have so much more than just some tips or tricks. It's not something that you can learn out of a book. And second of all, I would have been the worst person because I was so judgmental about addiction because I'd been harmed by it, and I would have been carrying that bias into the room. So I'm not saying that all people who have experienced who haven't experienced addiction are going to be bad practitioners, but I wouldn't have wanted me to be my counsellor. And I've always been quite empathetic person, so that's like, yeah, I would say it's quite important. And as an addict, an ex-addict now, I would have struggled to open up to a therapist about addiction if they hadn't. However, on the flip side of that, because I like to give two sides, the first time I opened up to somebody about addiction wasn't with an addictions therapist. It was actually with a normal therapist who I had already built rapport with, and I told her that I'd overcame addiction, and she was so lovely and supportive, and she didn't make us feel any certain way. So yeah. Right, Khan saying, I don't need no training, being 25 years, heroin, crack and methadone addiction, being clear for 1 year now, even off a script. Yeah, but what I would say, Khan, what I will say to you is it would be helpful to do some kind of person-centered therapy or some kind of counselling course, even if it's just doing like a diploma, because one of the things is with being having an addiction is, I think sometimes we can see it only from our perspective. And what learning counselling does is that it teaches you how to put yourself in other people's shoes. It teaches you how to be ethical whilst working with them. And it also teaches you how to not do transference, not project. So it keeps the client safer. So I do agree, but I think having some counselling training, even if it's minimal, will definitely improve your ability to work with people, I would say, personally, because as somebody who's done counselling training, I think if I hadn't, I would also be dangerous. I think if I hadn't had both of those things together, I would have been dangerous to work with addiction. Thomas is saying, what was I addicted to? Ketamine. But I took mind-altering substances. Like, my psychiatrist said I was addicted to mind-altering substances. So I was just essentially pissed or wrecked every day of my from my teens up, basically. I had a lot of undiagnosed mental health disorders and a lot of trauma, like PTSD, so it was understandable that I wanted to escape reality every day. But it was ketamine which really got us. And smoking, I've smoked since I was 12, just recently quit. No, you're right. A mixture of academic and live life experience will always be more beneficial. Yeah, and look, you can literally do courses, like go to your local college and do mine was 1 day a week. You don't have to go up to doing the foundation degree, but I've got to say, I fucking loved it. Everybody loved it. It was so good. If you're in the Northeast, 100% go to Time Met College. It's amazing. But you can just do like the diploma, and it's 1 day a week. Like in the UK, you don't actually have to be a qualified therapist to be a counsellor. Like you actually don't. So you could do things online, but what I would say is you are working with real people's lives. Sometimes it is a matter of life or death, because if you work with someone and you say the wrong thing, they might give up on therapy. They might then go down a path and overdose. And I'm thinking about that all the time. So you've got to be ethical. Which is why I always give one-to-ones, because even though on YouTube I can say whatever the fuck I want, and you know, it doesn't matter about you as such, I could just benefit of yours. I'm hyper aware that I'm working with real people who need real support. That's why I do free one-to-ones. You've got to be ethical. So yeah, the two together means you're ethical, but you've also got that lived experience, and you'll be able to create rapport. Savannah is saying how to find reasons to stop when all I see are positives for me whenever I'm on it. I feel like it makes me a better person. So look, addiction is something if you want to stop, if it's a problem, addiction's a problem that you want to stop that you can't stop. If you don't see it as a problem and you think it makes you a better person, then it's not a problem, so get rid of that. You don't want to stop it because you're saying you don't want to. So then the can't stop is irrelevant. So subjectively, is it even an addiction? Now, if this is where we can start to get, like, ask yourself that question and say write down all the positives about it, all the things that you love about it. But I ask you, after you've done that, just as an exercise, and this is called motivational interviewing, write down all the positives. Say if all these positives exist, if there is no, then write down the negatives. Like just humour yourself and write down any negatives. And if there's no negatives and there's only positives, then technically it's not an addiction. Kirk, has anybody ever been addicted to you? Oh, my son is obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. He's 4 though. Attachment. As I ain't in services, I'm waiting for counselling. I got kicked off ADHD waiting list from the NHS. I literally have no support right now. Fucking hell, Con. Yeah, would you like a one-to-one? If you'd like a one-to-one, go to my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk. Chris is saying, if you're in recovery, are you in life to stay in recovery and to heal from past addiction and or problems? So look, I hate this NA and A opening line. I think NA and AA is brilliant. I'm not like against groups, I am pro groups. There's so many benefits, but I hate the way they start off with, hi, my name is Ashley and I am an addict. And I've said this all before, but it does not fit in with the psychology and the neuroscience and counselling perspectives of how the brain works. So if we are sitting here saying I am an addict or I am in recovery for the rest of my life, you are telling yourself that you are always susceptible to addiction. Not true. I identify as, hi, my name is Ashley and I am a recovered addict. Excellent, like old chapter, been done. I've done the work. I love myself unconditionally. I've got a great support network around us. I'm living a life that I've built up from the bottom down. I've walked through the fire to get here through addiction recovery, and there ain't no fucking way I'm going back. And I know so many people like that. So I think sometimes it's about saying you don't always have to be in recovery. Recovery is a transition. And you've got addicted, recovery, transitioning to recovered, and during that transition you need to rebuild your life. You need to work on your nervous system. You need to work on the why were you addicted in the first place so that you can address it so you don't relapse, and you need to build up a beautiful life that is far too precious to give up for addiction. But I'm really tired, guys. So I'm gonna do one more question and go. Yeah, saying Raymondo, she said she was into ketamine. Yeah, that was my drug of choice. It seems to be getting a lot more popular as well now, unfortunately. It's very, very addictive. And remember, so DN is saying, remember though that addicts have issues with honesty. Writing down positives and negatives for oneself might not reflect reality at all. The thing is though, if you aren't ready to stop, you're not going to stop. There is no way in hell that somebody is going to stop if they are like, I'm not ready to stop, I don't want to stop, because the level of grit and determination it takes to do that and sustain it, and like I say, revamp your entire life, nervous system, mind, like psyche, is a lot. So if you don't want to stop, you're not going to stop. So if you look at like the cycle of addiction, you're in the denial stage, and that's part of addiction, the cycle of addiction. Now, what I've just said is a type of counselling which I would do. So say a client came to us, maybe they've had to come to us because social services has got involved, and they've got a child, say there's like heroin involved, and they've got to go to drug assisted therapy or something like that, and they went to a therapist and they don't really want to be there, but they have to be. So they're not ready to stop, they're in denial. What I've just said to them about writing down all the positives and saying it's okay, like this isn't an addiction, which I'm being serious, from a subjective standpoint, it isn't addiction. Addiction is a problem that you want to stop, that you can't stop. But if you came to us, what I would be doing is motivational and interviewing, and I would say, right, what's good about it? And I would be listening to you and really taking it on board. And then I'd say, right, okay, we know what's good about it, what's bad about it, like what are the not so good stuff? And looking at the not so good stuff, it means we're not defensive, because we're not saying we have to get rid of it. We're not saying that it's all shit, so we're being open and honest, and it gives you an opportunity to think about, okay, let's address the not so good stuff, because we don't have to stop. And that's good to get you around the wheel of change. But look, if you're not ready to stop and you're going to lie to yourself, that's okay. That's just where you are at your recovery, and that's normal, that's part of recovery. And yeah, you wouldn't be stopping either way. Marked Jason saying you're doing great work. Yeah, lovely, keep it up. Yeah, thank you. Anyways, I'm gonna go, guys. If anyone hasn't given us a subscribe, that's a super free way to help the channel get to the people who need us. Need it. And I'll be back on Monday at 10 a.m. and I go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. So I will see you later, and thanks for everyone who's joined, and thanks to my mods. Bye.